Hi everyone, it's Jenny with Joey and Jenny's Little Yellow House, and here on YouTube and Instagram at Joey143Jenny, and also on Facebook at Joey and Jenny's Little Yellow House. Well, I'm outside today. I wanted to do a little bit of paper dyeing, and I do this inside as well, but I thought since it was so nice today I would come outside and do it. So you'll probably hear a little bit of traffic and some birds and things like that, plus the shadows, so I apologize for that. But so let me just show you what I have. I don't always wear gloves, but I am going to today because I'm going to try to expedite, so I'm going to be using my hands a lot. I've got my generic cheap coffee, instant coffee, which I have found to be the best. I've used ground coffee, and it just doesn't seem to have as dark of a coffee stain as I'd like. Then I also have one of these little cheap hairspray travel bottles, and I'll be putting more of a concentrate coffee in that. I have some water here. I did heat it up. You don't have to heat it up, but I did it to help with the breaking down the instant quickly so I could move on with the, dyeing. And then I have several of these that I got at, they used to be $1 at the, I want to say it's the Dollar Tree. I don't know how much they are now, but I have several of these that I designate just for dyeing. So even when I use colored dyes, I'll use these. And then let me set this aside real quick. I do have an apron on. I don't always wear an apron when I do this, but I usually wear clothes that I'm not super concerned if I get coffee splatters on. So let me just move over here and grab, this is a little bucket that I have that I keep just different things to make impressions on the paper. These are vintage, what are these? Placemats. They're plastic. I use plastic. For the most part, I have used cloth, but I like to use the plastic the best. I feel like it comes out really nice. So, yeah, so let's see what I'll use today. I like these round ones. Those are fun. Maybe we'll get a couple of those out. I got a tablecloth one time, a plastic tablecloth one time, and it kind of broke to pieces in some areas, so I just kept what I could cut out, so you can always use those. And I will use these periodically to get into the smaller areas if I want color distributed everywhere. So let's see, I think I'll use this one. I think that's very pretty. Okay, and then I think I'm going to use, see here, got some little pans as well, which are also fun to use. I'm going to keep everything straight here just because once you get it placed, you don't want it folding up. And I think I'm going to use a couple of these. Now, one thing is that I don't have a whole lot of room today. I just have one table set out. So I'm just going to mind it here and there and come back and deal with it, back and forth a little bit. So, all right, well, let me put that there. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to pour a little water in. I don't care to make a big, gigantic batch of this because, again, I'll use my hands. I'm leaving a little bit in the bottom to make a concentrate, but I'll use my hands, so it doesn't have to be full for a bunch of paper. There's so many different ways to do this. I'm going to use about 1.5 cups for this, and then I'm going to use quite a bit, another probably cap into what's left of that water, because I want it to be pretty concentrated. Let's set this aside, and I'll show you why here in a second. I'm going to stir this one since it's thicker. Get that nice and stirred up. This is an old towel I use specific for dyeing. You've probably seen it before. Now I'm going to just pour this in here. Okay, and I'll just pour the rest in there. Set that aside. Okay. All right. Get my gloves on. Okay, now while I do this, all I'm going to do is pause for a second and get the table laid out so that I can show you exactly what's getting ready to, how I go about this. So just 1 second, I'm going to pause. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I have some paper. I have some just different kinds of paper. I have some envelopes, and I have some, junk mail envelopes. I'm going to do the junk mail envelopes first. So I'm going to set all of this aside. And basically what I'm going to do is most of these, the flaps are not open, but with the ones with the flaps open, I'm going to go ahead and keep those open. Oftentimes boy, I don't know who opened these, but oftentimes I just open them from the side. So anyways, so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a quick dip in the coffee, and quick dip, and then I'm going to lay them out over here on this towel. Quick dip. Now you could let them sit and make a nice caramel. I mean, it would really be dark, and that's totally fine. I just didn't want mine super dark today. I am kind of going, hopefully, with it just a little bit muted. Now, I can tell you that the more heat from the sun, the more, the darker they could get. I'm looking out over my yard, and it looks like a little stray puppy has found our yard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the camera here just for a second so you can see. I've got that laying over there. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a placemat and I'm going to lay it over it. Try to squish these together so that they get as much of the placemat as possible. Okay. And then that's basically what I'm going to do. So continuing here. Okay. So yeah, I was going through my coffee dye. I don't know. I have a lot of coffee dye. I've never really perfected it, So it's just kind of a trial and error. But it is fun. So I do like doing it. That one hasn't been used, so that's fun. So I just thought, well, it's so nice out. Yesterday I had thought about doing it. It was blistering hot and super sunny. You don't have to worry about it being super sunny. The sun, even through the clouds, will pick it up. So, but I thought about doing it yesterday, and then a hailstorm came through. Okay. All right. I'm just going to set that on top of that. It's not going to hurt anything. And I'm going to do these. So you can see it's just a process of, dipping and laying out. And you could do this, like I said, I've done it inside, I did it on my kitchen counter. Kind of the same process, but to be quite honest, I also put down some parchment paper, which, by the way, is wonderful coffee dyed. Okay. So I'm going to just set that there, and what I'm going to do is get the rest of my table set up, and I will be back in a little bit after it dries. So hang tight, and I'll show you the results. Okay, I'm back. One thing I forgot to show you is this concentrate. What I'll do with this is just give it a light spray in the areas that the design is in. You could also just dip your brush in a concentrate and just paint it like that. And then what that does, or what the experience I have had, is that that design really shows up well. Like that. So I'm just going to do that. Go around here. My little spray bottle's not participating very well. And it doesn't take much. You know, just kind of go around it and paint it down a little bit. Again, like I said, you could also just keep it in the measuring cup or whatever you're using to pour water, and you know, use that as like your little paint can. I don't measure anything. I just look at the color and, you know, see, is this the color I like? This one's going to be very caramel. I could also dilute it and make it a lot less, you know, just to have a nice, kind of just an old-fashioned color, which I might do also with some here after a while. But right now I just want to get these started. All right. That's the one part I forgot to show you. So I will be back. Thank you. Okay, so it hasn't been awfully too long, but what I've done is it's been drying a little bit, and I've laid out a few more, I don't know if you can see them, a few more envelopes here. And so now what I'm going to do is, sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't, but I'm just going to lay paper on top, kind of soak up the extra, try to soak up some of the extra coffee that's down. And then I'll let it finish drying here. So I just wanted to tell you that's what I was going to do, and just another little step that you don't have to, I mean, everything is just trial and error, so you just keep playing with it and have fun, and you know, just go from there. So I think I'll put this one right here. Anyways, I just wanted to show you that, so I'll be back in just a little bit. Okay, I'm back. They're not quite dry. They're getting there. Here are those envelopes that we put out. And so you can see when they start getting dry, they get puffy like that. If I had soaked them more, the inside would also be caramelized. But I didn't soak them very much. This one looks like it got soaked quite a bit. Let's see what the inside's still pretty white, and it's still a little bit wet. Well, quite a bit wet. They're still damp for sure, but they're getting there. But I think I'm going to end the video and then come back and show you what it looks like, because I can't tell if it's going to rain or not. So I think I'm going to take my camera in and keep an eye on the weather. And we may have coffee dyed / raindrop paper. We'll see. What I also did with the not all of the remainder of the coffee, there was so much, and you can keep it in the fridge for like maybe a week if you want. And again, you can use it cold. You don't have to heat it up. I just put it in an old jar. But what I did was I just took piles of paper. So probably, like piles of 10, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. And I just soaked them in it. And I just took like a couple pieces put in, until I had the 10. Then I took that out. And then I just did that with different paper. I did it with like lined paper, and I did it with resume paper that I got at a thrift store, and some copy paper. And then from those bundles, I just hung them on the clothesline. I'm so grateful for a clothesline. I've always wanted a house with one. And so those clumps, I just hung on the clothesline. And once they begin to dry, the front pages just kind of curl up from the rest. And then that's how you see that they're, beginning to dry. So it's kind of a fun process. That's kind of a quick hack type of way to do it. It doesn't get as saturated through, like when you leave it in for a little while. Or another way I've done it is to put it in one of my buckets. And then, so I layer the paper out in the buckets, coffee, then paper, then coffee, then paper, then coffee, then paper. And then I pour out, so like this was one of the buckets I was using. I'll pour out, keep the paper in, and I'll pour out the excess of the coffee. And then I'll just prop this up against my stairs out back. And all that extra will run out, and then periodically I'll go and I'll drain it out. But what happens is that paper will dry in there, and they'll dry in layers. And then once it gets where I don't see any more coming out, I'll go ahead and flip it over and dry that side. And then eventually I'll just take it out of the rubber bucket. I like to contain, so I don't have coffee everywhere in my back porch. But once I see that, there's a gnat bit me, that it's drained, it's not draining anymore, then I'll take them out and let them dry on the step, because I know the coffee isn't going to stain, like it would if it was still really wet. So anyway, so that's another way I do it. So many ways to do it, and you'll find your path if you haven't started. But one thing I would encourage you to do is just get started, because it's so much fun. And you can do it with tea bags. Like I said, you don't have to use instant coffee. You can use your ground coffee. It's a little more expensive, but you can certainly do that if you have some left. And I've done that myself. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for watching, and I will show you the final product in the next video. And we'll have a little look-see at it. And I just want you to know that we pray blessings over each of you. And we want you to know you're so loved. So hope you have a really great day, and hope you're enjoying the spring. Let me know if your coffee dying. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.